When I first walked into the company building, my heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone around me could hear it. I was only 25 then, fresh out of college, eager to prove myself in the corporate world. My resume was strong, but deep inside I still felt like a girl chasing her first dream. I had no idea that the dream waiting for me wasn't just a career, but a love that would define every part of me. The first day I was called into a meeting with her, my boss. Her name alone carried weight in the industry. She was a woman in her 40s, confident, elegant, and brilliant. I still remember how she looked when she lifted her eyes from the file to see me for the first time. Calm, measured, yet warm in a way I hadn't expected. Her gaze lingered just a second too long, like she was studying not just my credentials but the person behind them. "You're ambitious," she said, tapping her pen gently against the table. "And ambition, when nurtured, can become brilliance. I think you'll do well here." That one line felt like a door opening for me. I didn't know it yet, but she had already marked me as someone worth investing in, not only professionally but emotionally. Days turned into weeks, and my respect for her grew every time we spoke. She wasn't just a boss who issued orders. She was a mentor who believed in me. Whenever I stumbled, she didn't criticize harshly. Instead, she would lean closer, her voice lowering just enough to feel personal. "You're better than this mistake. Try again." And somehow those words didn't make me feel small. They made me feel capable, like she saw a potential in me I hadn't even recognized myself. There were nights when deadlines loomed and the office grew quiet, except for the soft hum of computers and the faint glow of city lights through the tall windows. Everyone else would leave, but I would stay back, and often so would she. We would sit across from each other in the conference room, paper spread out, our laptops open, the silence broken only by the sound of pens scratching or keyboards clicking. Sometimes I caught her looking at me, not in a way that a superior studies an employee, but in a way that made my breath hitch. It was subtle, her eyes softening, her lips curving almost into a smile before she quickly looked back at her work. Those moments stayed with me long after I went home, filling my chest with a warmth I couldn't name. One evening, it was nearly midnight when I finally leaned back in my chair and sighed, rubbing my temples. She looked up from her laptop, closed it, and said, "You've worked enough for today. Come, let's take a break." We walked to the large window at the end of the hall. The city stretched out before us, glittering like 1,000 stars had fallen onto earth. I stood with my arms folded, trying to hide how nervous I felt being alone with her like this. She stood close, too close, and the air between us shifted. "You remind me of myself at your age," she said softly. "But you have something extra. A fire." Her eyes searched mine, and for a moment, the world outside didn't exist. Only her voice, her presence, the nearness of her body. I wanted to say something, anything, but words abandoned me. All I could do was hold her gaze, my heart thudding in my chest. Then it happened, the first spark. She reached out and brushed a strand of hair away from my face. The touch was fleeting, almost innocent, but it sent a shiver down my spine. I didn't move. Couldn't. Her hand lingered at the side of my face, and slowly, so carefully it felt like a question, she leaned in. My breath caught. The scent of her perfume, something elegant and faintly floral, wrapped around me. And then her lips met mine. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't hungry. It was soft, gentle, almost fragile, like she was afraid I might pull away. But I didn't. I leaned into her, my eyes closing, my hands trembling at my sides until I finally found the courage to place one on her arm. Her lips moved against mine in the quietest, most tender kiss I had ever known. When she pulled back, her forehead rested against mine, and I realized I was trembling. She whispered, "This stays between us." I nodded, unable to speak. That night, when I finally went home, I lay awake in bed, replaying the moment over and over. The way she had looked at me just before the kiss. The warmth of her lips. The feeling of being chosen, not just as an employee, not just as a protégé, but as something infinitely more personal, more intimate. I didn't know where it would lead. All I knew was that my life had shifted forever. The lines between mentor and lover, between boss and me, had blurred into something dangerous yet irresistible. And as much as I tried to reason with myself, my heart had already surrendered. She wasn't just my boss anymore. She was the beginning of my love story. After that night at the office window, everything between us shifted in ways words could never fully capture. The next morning, when she walked into the boardroom, she was still the same composed, powerful woman, but to me she was also the one whose lips had pressed against mine under the city lights. No one else in the room knew. No one else could have guessed. But my heart raced every time her gaze flickered toward me, even for a fraction of a second. It didn't take long for our private moments to grow. Sometimes she would call me into her office late in the evening. We'd go over files, discuss strategies, but the papers in front of us were only a disguise. She would lean closer, her hand brushing mine on the desk, and then we'd forget the numbers and graphs altogether. She kissed me like the world had paused, like we had all the time in eternity. Those kisses weren't hurried, they were tender, her lips soft against mine, the faintest sigh escaping her as if she'd been waiting all day for that moment. One evening, she leaned back in her chair, watching me with a look that was both proud and deeply personal. "You're ready," she said. "Ready for what?" I asked, my voice almost trembling. "To lead," she replied. "To be more than just another manager. You've got the instinct, the vision. And I trust you more than anyone else in this company." The next week it became official. I was appointed CEO. At 25 I should have been overwhelmed, but instead I felt steady because she was behind me. It wasn't just about titles or power. It was the way she believed in me, the way her faith wrapped around me like an invisible shield. In her eyes, I wasn't just someone she loved. I was someone capable of standing beside her, equal in strength, equal in ambition. We celebrated that night. Not with champagne and crowds, but with something far more intimate. She drove us out of the city, down a quiet highway lined with trees. The windows were rolled down, the night air cool against our skin, and music played softly in the background. I remember looking at her as she drove, her profile illuminated by passing headlights, her hand reaching across to hold mine. That simple gesture, her thumb stroking the back of my hand, said more than words ever could. Later at her apartment we sat by the window, the city stretched out beneath us again. She poured us wine, but neither of us touched it. Instead, she pulled me into her arms, resting her chin on the top of my head. "I don't know what I did to deserve you," she whispered. I pulled back, meeting her eyes. "It's me who doesn't deserve you. You've given me everything." She kissed me then, slow and deep, her hand cupping the back of my neck. It wasn't just passion, it was reassurance, promise, devotion. When she pulled away, her forehead rested against mine. "Don't ever doubt it," she said. "You're mine and I'm yours." From then on, our love carved itself into the small, everyday moments. Morning coffee where her fingers brushed mine as she handed me the cup. Secret smiles exchanged during meetings. Long drives where we'd stop at roadside diners, laughing like teenagers sneaking away from the world. And nights, so many nights, when I would fall asleep in her arms, feeling safer than I had ever felt in my life. Sometimes she kissed me just to make me smile. Soft pecks on my cheek, gentle kisses on my forehead. Other times, her lips lingered on mine, deeper, slower, until I forgot where I ended and she began. She had a way of holding my face in her hands when she kissed me, as if I were fragile glass she was afraid to break. And every single time my heart melted. One evening, after another long day at work, I found her waiting for me in the apartment, candles lit, dinner already set on the table. "You deserve more than just business dinners and late-night meetings," she said with a smile. I laughed, touched and overwhelmed, and as we ate, she kept looking at me with eyes that seemed to hold a secret. After dinner, she took my hand and led me to the balcony. The night sky was vast, stars scattered like diamonds. She stood facing me, her expression tender but serious. "I never thought I'd do this," she said softly. "I never thought I'd find someone who would make me believe in forever again." My breath caught in my chest as she pulled out a small velvet box. Opening it, she revealed a delicate ring that sparkled in the candlelight. "Will you marry me?" she asked, her voice trembling ever so slightly. For a moment, everything inside me broke open. My eyes blurred with tears, my throat tight with emotion. I nodded before I could even form words, whispering, "Yes, yes, of course." She slipped the ring onto my finger, her hands shaking just a little. Then she kissed me, oh that kiss. It was desperate and tender all at once, our tears mingling as our lips pressed together. My arms wrapped around her neck, holding her as if I would never let go. When we finally pulled apart, she whispered, "You're my future, my home." I smiled through my tears, pressing my forehead against hers. "And you're mine." That night we didn't need words. We lay side by side, hands entwined, kissing softly, whispering promises in the dark. The world outside could rage with all its judgments, all its hate, but in that room we had found our forever. I had never felt so loved, never felt so safe. With her, I wasn't just a girl trying to make her way in the world. I was cherished, chosen, held like something precious. And in those moments I believed, truly believed, that nothing could ever break us apart. Telling my family was the hardest decision I'd ever made. 4 weeks after her proposal, I lived in a cocoon of joy, staring at the ring on my finger whenever no one was watching. But joy has a way of demanding truth, and I couldn't hide her forever. She wasn't just a secret anymore, she was my future. One evening, I gathered my courage and told them. My parents, my siblings, everyone who mattered. My voice shook as I said, "I'm in love, and I'm going to marry her." First they thought I was joking. My mother laughed nervously, waiting for the real punchline. But when she saw the seriousness in my eyes, her smile vanished. My father's face hardened instantly. My brother muttered under his breath, words I didn't want to hear. "You're saying you love a woman?" My father's voice thundered. "This is shameful. It's unnatural. What will people say?" I felt my chest tighten. "I don't care what people say. I love her. She's given me everything, faith, trust, respect. Isn't that what love is supposed to be?" My mother's eyes filled with tears, but they weren't tears of happiness. "You'll destroy yourself. You'll destroy this family. How can you bring this shame on us?" The argument stretched on for hours. My words against theirs. My tears against their fury. My heart against their walls of tradition. "Love is not a sin," I cried, my voice breaking. "You taught me to be honest, to be brave. And now when I am both, you call me a disgrace." But they wouldn't hear me. The next days were no easier. Every meal turned into a battlefield. Every glance was filled with disappointment, as if I had become a stranger in my own home. My father stopped speaking to me altogether. My mother's face grew weary from constant tears. My siblings called me selfish, accused me of ruining their reputations. Still I refused to bend. At night, I locked myself in my room and cried until my pillow was wet, but every morning I rose with the same resolve. I wasn't going to let them tear me away from her. I wasn't going to betray the love that had become my anchor. She knew, of course. I told her everything. Some nights, when the weight became unbearable, I would drive to her apartment, collapse into her arms, and let the dam break. One night in particular, I remember sobbing into her chest, my body shaking uncontrollably. "They hate me," I whispered between gasps of air. "They hate me for loving you." Her arms tightened around me, her hand smoothing over my hair. "No, my love," she whispered, kissing the top of my head. "They don't hate you. They fear what they don't understand. And that fear makes them cruel. But listen to me, you're not wrong. You're not broken. You're the bravest woman I've ever known." Her words soaked into me like rain on parched earth. She kissed my forehead, lingering there as if sealing a promise. "I'll stand by you," she whispered. "Always. No matter what they say, no matter what they do. You're mine, and I'll never let you go." I held on to those words like a lifeline. The nights at her apartment became my sanctuary, where I could breathe, where her soft kisses healed the bruises left by harsh words at home. Every time she kissed me, it was as though she was reminding me, this is real. This is worth fighting for. Slowly, painfully slowly, things began to shift at home. My mother was the first to soften, though she never admitted it. One night she slipped into my room, sat on the edge of my bed and said quietly, "I don't understand this, but I see how much it means to you. You look alive when you speak of her. Nay, I don't want to lose you." Her words cracked something open. My siblings, though still resentful, grew silent instead of angry. And my father. He remained a fortress, unyielding, but I saw the exhaustion in his eyes. He couldn't fight me forever. It took months of pleading, of arguments that ended in tears, of silent meals filled with tension. But little by little, I carved a space for her in their minds. They didn't accept her, not fully, not warmly, but they stopped demanding I leave her. And in their silence, I found a kind of victory. Through it all, she was my rock. Every battle I fought at home, I came back to her arms. Every wound my family inflicted, she healed with her touch. Her kisses on my forehead, my cheeks, my lips, each one whispered the same promise: I will not let go. I sometimes wondered where my strength came from. Was it me or was it her? The truth, I think, was both. She gave me courage and I gave her love. Together, we were stronger than the walls that tried to divide us. That chapter of my life taught me something profound. That love, real love, is not just about stolen kisses or whispered promises. It's about standing in the fire and refusing to run. And every time I looked at her, I knew I would walk through fire again if it meant I could stay by her side. It surprised me how often temptation tried to slip its way into my life once people learned about my new position. Becoming CEO at such a young age made me a magnet for attention, especially from men I had known during college. Friends who once laughed at my seriousness suddenly began to see me as desirable. They reached out, invited me to dinners, spoke of futures where I would never need to worry about anything again. One of them, Arif, sat across from me in a quiet cafe one afternoon. His eyes sparkled with a mixture of pride and intent as he leaned closer. "You deserve someone who can give you everything," he said, sliding his business card across the table as though it were a gift. "Wealth, comfort, status, I can give you all of it. Just say yes." I smiled, but it wasn't the kind of smile he wanted. My voice was steady as I pushed the card back to him. "You don't understand," I said softly. "Everything I need I already have. And it's not money. It's not status. It's her." He didn't take it well. None of them did. Some mocked me, calling it foolishness, a phase that would pass. Others tried to charm me, flaunting their cars, their salaries, their family names. But none of them understood that what they were offering was emptiness compared to what I already had. Because when I thought of her, I thought of nights filled with laughter and whispered secrets. I thought of her hand brushing mine as we walked together. Her lips pressing gently against my forehead when words weren't enough. No amount of gold or power could compete with the warmth of her embrace, the way my heart settled into peace when she held me close. Once, after rejecting another proposal, I went straight to her apartment. She opened the door, her expression lighting up when she saw me, and in that moment I knew exactly why I could say no to the rest of the world so easily. I told her about the proposal, how he had promised me riches beyond measure. She laughed softly, wrapping her arms around me. "And what did you tell him?" she asked, her lips brushing my cheek. I smiled, resting my head against her shoulder. "I told him my heart already belongs to someone, and I'll never give it away again." She kissed me then, slow and tender, as though she were thanking me without words. Her hand cupped my face, her thumb brushing my cheekbone. "That's because it's not just your heart that belongs to me," she whispered. "It's mine that belongs to you." Those moments replayed in my mind whenever another temptation tried to lure me away. I didn't need to remind myself of what mattered. My heart already knew. Wealth could buy comfort, but it could never buy the way she looked at me when I entered a room. Status could impress a crowd, but it could never replace the way her arms felt around me at the end of a long day. Sometimes late at night, I lay beside her and remembered all the times I had chosen her over the world. Each rejection, each refusal, felt like another vow etched into my soul. I choose you. Again and again I choose you. And in the quiet of those nights, as she kissed me softly before we drifted to sleep, I realized loyalty isn't about sacrifice. It's about clarity. I didn't feel deprived for saying no to others. I felt blessed because every no brought me back to the only yes that mattered. She was my yes. My only yes. And as long as she was by my side, I didn't need anything else. That night was supposed to be ordinary. My parents had insisted we all go out together for dinner, something we rarely did anymore. I agreed half-heartedly, thinking it might ease the tension that had been hanging in the air after months of arguments about my relationship. The hotel's restaurant was elegant, its chandeliers glowing softly, the sound of cutlery and murmured conversations blending into a gentle hum. I sat with my family, forcing smiles, trying to be present. And then my eyes froze. Across the room, in a cozy corner lit by a golden lamp, I saw her. My boss. My love. My everything. At first, my heart lifted. What a coincidence, maybe she'd come over and meet my family, maybe this night could be special. But before I could even process the thought, I saw her laughing. Not with me. Not for me. Sitting across from her was another woman. Her ex. I recognized her instantly from the photos she had once shown me, always dismissing them as old history. I felt the air leave my lungs as though someone had punched me. They leaned closer, their hands brushing. I told myself maybe it was innocent, maybe just old friends catching up. But then it happened. A kiss. Soft, lingering, familiar. The kind of kiss she once reserved only for me. The ground slipped from beneath my feet. My fork clattered onto the plate, my family looking at me in confusion, asking what was wrong. I couldn't answer. My entire world had shattered in a single moment. I sat frozen, trembling, praying this was a nightmare. My chest ached so deeply I thought I might break apart right there at the table. My mind screamed with memories, her lips on mine in the office late at night, her hands holding me in the dark, her promises whispered against my ear. I'll never hurt you. I'll always choose you. My eyes blurred with tears, but I blinked them back quickly so my parents wouldn't notice. Quietly, with shaking hands, I pulled out my phone. Something inside me needed proof. Proof that I wasn't imagining it. Proof that the betrayal was real. I pressed record, capturing their closeness, their kiss, even as my own heart fractured. The screen in my hand burned like fire. Each second I filmed felt like stabbing myself, yet I couldn't stop. It was as if I needed to hold on to that moment, to show her tomorrow, to demand why she had destroyed me. I excused myself from the table, mumbling something about needing air. Outside the restaurant, the night was cruelly beautiful, the moonlight soft, the air crisp. I leaned against the cold wall, and only then did the tears fall freely. Silent, unstoppable. I bit my lip to stop from sobbing aloud. When I finally went home with my family, I stayed quiet the entire way. They didn't press, assuming I was tired. But inside I was collapsing. In my room, I clutched my pillow and cried until my throat ached. I thought of the countless nights I had spent in her arms, the kisses she placed on my forehead when I broke down, the way she used to say, "Forever is ours." Now those words echoed like cruel lies. I replayed the video again and again, each time feeling my heart sink deeper. Every kiss of ours, every promise, every moment of laughter, it all seemed tainted now. Love that once felt eternal had been reduced to ashes in a single evening. And all I could do was cry, remembering the softness of her lips, the warmth of her embrace, the life I thought we were building together. A life now broken beyond repair. The next morning, I could barely recognize myself in the mirror. My eyes were swollen from crying, my face pale, my body heavy with exhaustion. Yet inside me, there was a strange calm like the silence before a storm. I knew what I had to do. When I entered the office, she was already there, smiling faintly when she saw me, as if nothing had happened, as if last night didn't exist. That smile, once my source of strength, now felt like a blade twisting in my chest. I walked in without a word, my heels echoing sharply against the marble floor. Slowly, deliberately, I pulled out my phone, unlocked it, and placed it on her desk. The video began to play. Her laughter with that woman filled the room, cruel and haunting. And then the kiss. Her face turned pale instantly, her smile vanishing. She reached for the phone, but I pulled it back, my hand trembling. Tears welled in her eyes. "Please, let me explain," she whispered, her voice breaking. I stood frozen, my heart pounding in my ears. "Explain what?" I asked, my voice shaking. "That you kissed her. That you promised me forever while giving pieces of yourself to someone else." She rushed from behind her desk, falling to her knees in front of me. Her hands grabbed mine tightly, desperately, as if she could anchor me to her world. "It was a mistake," she cried. "I was weak, confused, it meant nothing. You are my everything, please believe me." Her tears fell onto my hands, warm and frantic. She lifted them, kissing them feverishly, as if her lips could erase the wound she had carved into my soul. She pressed her face against my palms, whispering over and over, I'm sorry, I'll never hurt you again, I can't lose you." My chest ached at the sight of her breaking down. I wanted to close my eyes and pretend this never happened, to fall into her arms and let her promises soothe me again. But the video replayed in my mind over and over. The kiss, the betrayal, the shattering of our forever. She tried to kiss my face, reaching up, her lips brushing against my cheek. I pulled away, my tears finally spilling. My voice trembled, heavy with all the love and pain I carried. "Do you even understand what you've done to me?" I whispered. She clung tighter, her sobs shaking her body. "I'll do anything you ask. Just don't leave me. Please." I looked down at her, the woman who had once been my home, my shelter, my forever. And yet now, she felt like a stranger who had stolen everything from me. With my heart breaking in pieces, I whispered the only truth I knew. There is no forgiveness in love. Her body stilled, her tears silenced for a moment. She looked up at me, her face pale, lips trembling, eyes wide with disbelief. My words had cut deeper than any blade. But they were the truth. Because love, once broken like this, could never be whole again. I turned away, leaving her there on her knees, her sobs echoing in the office that had once been the place of our sweetest memories. Each step I took felt like tearing myself apart, but I didn't look back. Because there was nothing left to look back at. I didn't look back as I walked out of her office. Her cries followed me, echoing in the hallways, but I forced myself to keep moving. Each step was heavy, like dragging the weight of 5 years behind me. My hands trembled, my chest ached, but I knew, if I turned around, if I saw her face one more time, I might break. Outside, the sunlight was harsh, almost mocking. People walked past me, laughing, living, unaware that my entire world had just ended. I stood still for a long moment, breathing hard, trying to steady the storm inside me. And then, like a cruel film playing in my mind, the memories came. Her hand slipping into mine under the conference table. A secret smile shared when no one was looking. Our late-night drives with the city lights blurring around us. Her soft lips brushing against mine for the first time in the office. The kiss that had rewritten everything I thought I knew about love. The way she used to whisper, "I love you," against my skin as if the words belonged only to us. All those nights when she held me while I cried. All those mornings when she kissed me awake. Her promise when she slid the CEO title toward me, saying, "This is yours because I believe in you." Her forehead kisses, her laughter, her arms that once felt like home. And now, all of it reduced to ashes. I walked out of the building, my heels clicking against the pavement, each sound a reminder of distance growing between us. My heart screamed to run back, to forgive, to cling. But my soul whispered the truth. Some things, once broken, cannot be mended. As I disappeared into the crowded street, I let my final words echo silently inside me. Words she would never hear, but ones that would haunt me forever. Love made me a CEO. Love gave me a home. Love gave me dreams. And love betrayed me. Some wounds never heal. Some kisses burn forever.